Good morning, our viewers, from wherever you're watching us from. It's a very good morning. You're joining me again so that we can have a look at English for primary school today. My name is Nyakundi. I am a teacher in the KB group of schools here in Nairobi, and I'm glad that you're joining me this morning so that I can take you through English. I salute all the parents who ensure that their kids are joined for our lessons every Monday to Friday. I also salute KUTV for the opportunity that it gives us to continue bringing you learning at the comfort of your home. So this morning, I have prepared you a very interesting topic from the KCPE English paper, the first section of the paper. And in the English paper in KCPE, we usually have sections, and the first one is usually the Cloze test, which is from question 1 to question 15. And a Cloze test is where you are given a passage that you're supposed to read, then you are supposed to fill in the blank spaces with the correct words that have been omitted in that comprehension passage. Then the second part is the grammar questions, usually from question 16 to question 25, where you're asked mostly test the parts of speech, something that we have been looking at if you've been following our lessons keenly from the last weeks. And then after the grammar questions, we have the comprehension passages, which are usually from question 26 to question 50. Now, today, I want to concentrate on the Cloze test, where you are given a passage to read, then you are given blank spaces to fill with the most suitable or correct word. Now, there are a few rules that should guide you on how to answer Cloze test questions. In primary level, you are usually given Cloze test, then you are given the choices usually from A to D. So you're given 4 choices, but in advanced levels, the Cloze test does not have choices for you to pick. So it is rather easier in primary school because you have choices to pick from. But it is not that easy because some of these choices are also distractors. So you have to be very keen when answering your questions so that you don't answer the wrong thing, which is usually the distractor choices. So let me take you to my notes today. We are going to tackle Cloze test, and I'm going to teach you how to answer the questions from question 1 to question 15. So a Cloze test or a passage, or a broken passage, is a passage in which the reader supplies missing words in the passage from the choices given to make it correct and complete. To make it correct and to make it complete. So there are 2 things there. First is about making it correct. Then second, it's about making it complete. Okay? It is important to note the following while dealing with a broken passage. First, read the passage for the first time without looking at the answers. Read the passage for the first time without looking at the answers. So you read it without having a look at the choices that you have been given, and you try to make sense out of it while the words are still omitted. Then second, read the passage for the second time to understand. Read the passage for the second time to understand. So one read through the passage is not enough for a Cloze test. You have to read twice for you to understand the passage. Third, observe punctuation marks as you read. You know the punctuation marks? You know, I know that you have gone through the full stop, the comma, the colon, the question mark, the exclamation marks, the speech marks or the quotation marks. All those are important in answering a cloze test passage or question. Now, then you need to note the tense used in the passage. Then you need to note the tense used in the passage. Tense is the time when something is said by a speaker. It could be in the present, it could be in the past, it could be in the future, or in the participle. So you have to note which tense is this cloze test or is this passage written in, because that will help you answer the questions that regard to tense from that passage. You will be given verbs, answers that are the same, but they are in different tenses. And what will guide you in choosing those answers will be the tense of the cloze test or the passage that you have been given. So it is important to note the tense in the passage. Then find out the setting of the passage. Setting means where is the passage taking place? Is it in school? Is it at home? Is it in church? Is it a trip? Why do you need to understand the setting? Because of the vocabulary that is usually tested in these passages. All right. So I continue with some of the things that you need to do, the do's and the don'ts. And 6, note the words that come before and after blank spaces. Very important for you to note the words that come before and after blank spaces. Okay. So, then 7, work out all the blank spaces in a given sentence at the same time. Work out all the blank spaces in a given sentence at the same time. What does this mean? Let me take you then ahead with an example, then I'll tell you, I'll bring you back. Now have a look at this example here. Let's read the first sentence. Puberty dash, the start of dash, is now taking place dash than in previous generations and even comes earlier in girls than dash boys. Now let's try to answer question 1 by using what we had said, that rule that we said earlier, that work out all the blank spaces in a given sentence at the same time. You try out all the choices. So if, for example, the choices in one are, if the choices in one are and, or, but, and so, then you have to work them out. Puberty and start of, puberty or the start of, puberty but the start of, puberty so the start of. So you have to try all the 4 before you can settle on one, which is usually the correct answer. So I take you back. Work out all the blank spaces in a given sentence at the same time. At the same time. Read the sentence to yourself after you fill in the answers. Read the sentence to yourself after you fill in the answers. A very important one. So what does that mean? After you have filled your answer, and I take you to my example, puberty, then we settle on or, puberty or the start of adolescence is now taking place. Puberty or the start of adolescence is now taking place. You have to read it after you have filled. Why are you reading it? To check whether it makes sense and it is correct. Okay, so I take you back. Read the sentence to yourself after you fill in the answers. Then another thing that you need to do is try to fit in the 4 choices in the blanks. Try to fit in the 4 choices in the blanks in order to get the correct answer. I said that. Have a reason for the correct answer and reasons for the 3 wrong answers. Very key. If you go choosing any answer or choice that you have been given without a reason, then you will get it wrong. You must have a reason for the answer that you are giving, and you must have a reason for you must also have a reason for the 3 wrong answers. For the 3 wrong answers. All right. So next is mark your correct answers on the questions. Mark your correct answers on the questions. Mark your correct answers on the questions. So, how do you do that? You write after you have filled, and I want to show you an example. After you have filled the answer that you wanted to settle on, after you have filled the answer that you wanted to, that you have settled on, then you have to write it in your passage or in your blank space. You have to write it in your blank space. So an example here, puberty is the start of dash. So you came and write it here, puberty or puberty, or then you fill it there, or the start of, if your choice is adolescence, then you come and write it there, the start of adolescence. The start of adolescence is now taking place dash than in previous generations. Is now taking place earlier than. We are going to have a look at the choices there. Earlier than. Earlier than. So you have to fill in. You have to fill in those blank spaces. You have to fill in those blank spaces that you have been given there in that exercise. So work out all the blank spaces and then mark your correct answers on the blank spaces or on the questions that you have been given. Or on the questions that you have been given. Then the next step for you is to mark your correct answers on the questions. Mark your correct answers on the questions. Fill in the blank spaces with the answers you have picked from each question. Fill in the blank spaces the same way I did here. There, I fill in the blank spaces with the answers that I picked. Then I go to my questions and I mark those answers. For example, in number 1, I chose or, so I'll come here to or and mark it. I'll come to or and try to mark it this way. So you just mark it that way. Then the second one I picked was choice C, which is adolescence. So I'll come to adolescence and mark it. Then number 3, I picked earlier. I'll come to earlier and mark it. Then after I have marked it, I go back to my exercise and fill in those words there the way I have done. So next, after filling in, is now read the story with the correct answers to yourself. Read the story with the correct answers to yourself. What does that mean? It means you go through your story. For example, this one here. Puberty or the start of adolescence is now taking place earlier than in previous generations, and even comes earlier in girls than in boys. Let me fill there. In boys. So after I have filled, I have to go through the whole passage and read it with the choices that I have placed there. Why is that important? It helps you to pick out any mistakes that you could have made, because you are required to fill in the correct answer and the most suitable choice to complete the passage. So the passage must make sense after you have answered all your questions 1 to 15. Then, so you read the story with the correct answers to yourself. The next, you have to ensure the passage makes sense. You have to ensure the passage makes sense and correct where necessary. Ensure the passage makes sense. Ensure the passage makes sense and correct where necessary. This is the part where most students go wrong. They don't go through their work for correction. They don't go through their work for correction. So they assume that once they have finished answering they have completed their passage, then they have nothing else with that passage. They are done. Once they have reached question 15, they assume that they are done. Once you have reached question 15, that is not the end of the process. You have to go back to your Cloze test and read to make sense out of it. Then, as you read, you try to identify the mistakes that you could have made. After identifying those mistakes, then you need to correct them. The mistakes will not be with the passage. The mistakes will be with your choices or with the answers that you have provided. Now, there is the next step. After confirming that the answers are correct, after confirming that your answers are correct, transfer them to your answer sheet correctly. Remember, this is a question paper you're dealing with. It is not your answer sheet. So you first do everything in your question paper. So you use it also as your working paper. Then after that, you transfer correctly. Because if you transfer wrongly, these multiple choice questions will give you wrong results, because if you confuse, let's say, a number, then you will transfer wrongly all the subsequent numbers, and you will not get it right. So you have to be very careful when transferring your answers from your question paper to your answer sheet. That is the second last process. Then go over the entire paper and cross-check all the questions from number 1 to number 15. How are you going to cross-check? You will cross-check by going through your question paper Then also having your answer sheet there with you, then you check. It is choice A in number 1 in my question paper. Is it the same that I have transferred to my answer sheet? So after you have done the process from 1 to 15 in all the questions, then we can say that you're good to go. Now, with me are some of the exercises that I want us to have a look at so that we can try and apply these rules or the do's and the don'ts that I have taught you to use when it comes to Cloze tests. So the first Cloze test, I had already given you a brief preview of it. So the first one is there. Puberty, or the start of adolescence, is now taking place earlier than in previous generations and even comes earlier in girls than in boys. Emotional signs include dash, moodiness and rapid changes of dash, strong feelings dash, many different things and worry dash appearance, especially the dash body changes, dash tease dash adolescent over sports, shape dash and shape and other physical changes that they must be going through. You dash not be able to simply dash your adolescent that she looks fine. Dash also important to show you understand her concerns. Dash still give a positive view of the matter. What is the Cloze test about? It is about puberty, or the start of adolescence, or the early stage of adolescence. So you have learned this from your science. Some of the things that will be tested in such a Cloze test is the vocabulary. Do you know the vocabulary, or the register as it is referred to in linguistics, that is related to puberty, that is related to this science, that is related to adolescence? And they assume that you have learned that vocabulary, and that is what one of the things that they'll be testing. For example, in choice 2 or in question 2, they are asking you the start of dash is now taking place earlier. The start of dash is now taking place earlier in girls than in boys. Emotional signs include dash moodiness and rapid changes of dash strong feelings. So you read again for the second time to try and understand that Cloze test. After you've done that, you then move to your next step, which will be easier. It will be just, your next step will be where you will go to pick your answers. So your next step will be about picking your answers. And how will you do that? So I think I need some help here, my producer. So the choices, for example, in choice A are question 1, you are given choices and, or, but, so. I need some assistance to move to the next page. And, or, but, and so. So you apply them both, puberty and the start of, puberty or the start of, puberty but the start of, puberty so the start of. So then you settle on the correct one, which is puberty or the start of, then you must have a reason for the correct answer, and you must have reasons for the three answers or choices that you left out. So I pick or because puberty is just another name for start of adolescence. Puberty or the start of, then you're given there the choices: preteens, adulthood, adolescence, old age. Preteens, adolescence, old age. So then your correct answer there will be adolescence, because you will look at this word puberty. Which word means the same as puberty? Is it preteens? Is it adulthood? Is it adolescence? Or is it old age? And the correct choice is adolescence. Is now taking place dash than in previous generations. Dash than is taking place, dash than is taking place later than, is taking place earlier than, is taking place latest than, is taking place earliest than. Than tells you that it is comparative, so it will not be latest and it will not be earliest. You rule them out. Then you're given a distractor there, which is later. Now, you have to think. Now, there it requires logic. Puberty, does it take place earlier than in previous generations or later than in previous generations? And having read the whole passage, then you come up with the correct reasoning for your choice there, which will be earlier than in previous generations, and even comes earlier in girls than dash boys, than dash boys, than with boys, than at boys, than on boys, than in boys. So the answer there is comes earlier in girls than in boys. You've even been given a clue there, which is earlier in girls. So it is comparative. That informs your choice for earlier in question 3. In girls, in boys. The preposition accompanying that subject there. Emotional signs include dash, moodiness, and rapid changes. Emotional signs include, then you're given the choices, which is a colon, a semicolon, a full stop, and a question mark. You're given a colon, a semicolon, a full stop, and a question mark. So emotional signs include dash, moodiness, and rapid changes of dash, strong feelings, dash, many different things, and worry. When you are listing things, which punctuation mark do you use? When you are listing things, you use the colon in order for you to introduce your list. So you will come to 5 and then you will put there a colon. So come to 5 there. So a colon there. Moodiness and rapid changes of dash. Moodiness and rapid changes of dash. 6, you're given temperature, understanding, temperament, happiness. You're given temperature, understanding, temperament, happiness. Here are the choices. We are in question 6. So question 5, we have already picked choice A, which is a colon. And in question 4, we already picked choice D, which is in. Question 6 says, Moodiness and rapid changes of dash, moodiness and rapid changes of temperature, moodiness and rapid changes of understanding, moodiness and rapid changes of temperament, moodiness and rapid changes of happiness. Which one do you think is correct? Is it temperature? That is ruled out because temperature does not influence mood and rapid changes in adolescents. Understanding? Not really. So I told you some of these things here will be testing vocabulary, and this is one proof. Temperament, happiness. Temperament is the correct choice because temperament is like mood swings. Okay? Your moods are swinging from happy ones to sad. So that is called temperament. And that is what is tested there. That moodiness and rapid changes of temperament. Then we go back and see 7, strong feelings, dash. So there we have already answered. Not right there because it may not fit. Strong feelings, dash, many different things. Strong feelings, dash, many different things and worry. Strong feelings, dash, strong feelings of many different things, strong feelings about many different things, strong feelings for many different things, strong feelings with many different things, strong feelings of many different things is not correct. Feelings about gives you the cause. Feelings about many different things. Strong feelings about many different things. 8 says, and worry dash, many different things, about many different things, and worry dash appearance, and worry over appearance, and worry that appearance, and worry on appearance, and worry with. Worry, we say worry over appearance. 9, the question is asking, especially the dash body changes, especially the dash body changes, especially the normal body changes, especially the internal body changes, especially the familiar body changes, especially the unfamiliar body changes. It is the answer there. If you read from the previous sentence in 8, it says, 8 says, strong feelings about many different things and worry over appearance, especially the dash body changes, especially the dash body. So is it normal body changes? They will not worry about normal body changes, not internal. They will not worry about the familiar ones. They will worry about the unfamiliar body changes. So there it is logic you are applying to answer that question, because an adolescent could not worry about familiar body changes. He or she could worry about the unfamiliar ones. Question 10, which says, especially the unfamiliar body changes. So we have answered that too in this one. Dash, tease, dash, adolescent over sports, body shape, and other physical changes that they may be going through. Dash, tease, dash, adolescent. So question 10 there will say, always tease, dash, adolescent, sometimes tease, dash, adolescent, never tease, dash, adolescent, dash, all the times tease an adolescent. So what will inform our choice? The sentence after that will give you the reason. You dash not able to simply dash your adolescent that she looks fine. Also, important to show you understand her concerns, still give a positive view of the matter. So it tells the following sentences are urging you to always appreciate adolescents, to always give a positive view of what they are going to do. So your answer there will be never. Never tease. Never tease. Then 11 is asking, never tease the adolescent, adolescent, some adolescent, and adolescent. What I was just teaching you the last week, if you were with me on my lesson on determiners, and I started by talking about articles. So an adolescent, because it starts with the vowel sound a, an adolescent. So never tease an adolescent. So our pick is never, and then 12. Never tease an adolescent. Never tease an adolescent over sports, body shape, and other physical changes that they may be going through. You dash not be able to simply dash your adolescent that she looks fine. You dash not be able. So you could not be able, you cannot be able, you would not be able, you may not be able. The answer there is may, because you're not sure. You may not have the ability. You may not be able. So you may not be able, we continue, to simply dash your adolescent that she looks fine. To simply dash your adolescent that she looks fine. To simply reassure your adolescents, help your adolescent, hurt your adolescent, tell your adolescent. It is simply tell your adolescent. Reassure is a distractor, but now what makes us rule it out is when you reassure, you have already assured. So you are redoing what you have already done, and we have not seen that before. So it is simply tell your adolescent. 4 or 14 says, so tell your adolescent that she looks fine. Dash also important to show you understand her concerns. Dash also important to show you understand her concerns. Dash still give a positive view of the matter. So 14, it's, then it also gives, it's also important, you are also important, it's also important. These ones, the choice D and C, we rule them out. B and A remain. So our correct pick is B. But why? Because B is the short form of it is, when it has that apostrophe up there. When it does not have an apostrophe, it means it's. All right? So it's it's referring to ownership. Some, for example, it belongs to me. It's. But question 15, which says, you understand her concerns, dash, still give a positive view of the matter. You understand her concern, but still give, while still give, and still give, or still give. You understand her concern and still give a positive view of the matter. After you have done so, now your next step will be going through your work. Your next step will be going through all the work, because you have already written the choices there in those blank spaces. You're not going to do ticks the way I've done. I've done so because the words could not fit there. So after writing that, you go through your exercise, as we said, the entire paper, and cross-check all the questions from number 1 to number 15 and make any corrections where necessary. Make any corrections where necessary. I have the next example here for you. Bianca was very tired. She could dash walk. She dashed down the dash path. In her mind, she dashed whether she dashed to get home before darkness. Not dash after the dash, she finally dashed home. She was very dashed when she found out that there was no food. Suddenly, she broke dash tears. She tried to dash the fire. Dash the firewood was wet. Dash, she went to bed on an empty stomach. It's a story about Bianca at home trying to prepare herself a meal after a tiresome day, but unfortunately she did not manage and she ended up going to bed on an empty stomach. That is the setting of the story, which I said it is important for you to understand. After you've done that, you read for the second time to get even a better understanding. Bianca was very tired. She could dash walk. She could hard walk. She could rarely walk. She could never walk. She could barely walk. It is barely walk. Rarely there is a distractor. It does not mean the same as rarely. So the choice there is barely walk. She was tired. She could barely walk. Then choice 2. She dashed down the dash path. She dashed down the dash path. She plodded down the dash path. She sauntered down the dash path. She strolled down. She ran down. She was tired, remember? So a tired person walking plods. So to plod is to walk like when you're very tired, you're walking slowly. Maybe you're carrying some luggage with you. You plod. So she plodded down the path. She plodded. She plodded down the path. She could barely walk. She could barely walk. She plodded down the dash path. She plodded down the long path, the narrower path, the big path, the lonely path. So which is the correct pick there? She plodded down. She plodded down the lonely path. You don't say long path. And you don't say narrower path. Maybe you say narrow path. Narrower means you're comparing and there's nothing we are comparing with. There is no big path. Then there can be a lonely path. So there you are supposed to choose the correct adjective for that answer, which is lonely. So she plodded down the lonely path. In her mind, she dashed whether. She wondered whether. She wondered whether. There is a difference between the two. This wondered here has O, while this one here has A. To wander is to walk from place to place aimlessly. To walk from place to place aimlessly, like madmen or madwomen do. But to wonder, this one, is to be shocked about something. She wondered, or to think about something. She wondered. In her mind, she wondered whether. she wondered whether, she thought whether, she imagined whether. Imagine, she imagined whether. Imagine is not correct because it could have been imagined. Thought. One, so it is between thought and wondered. Then you are supposed to choose the correct one there, which is wondered, because of the next sentence, which says she wondered, in her mind she wondered whether she dash get home before darkness dash. She wondered whether she dash get home before darkness dash. So in her mind she, so for you say she wondered with O, wondered whether she dash get home. She dash get home. She might get home. She would get home. She can get home. She may get home. It is in the future, she, and the possibility, whether it was possible, which is would. She would get home before darkness dash. Before darkness began. Darkness does not begin. Before darkness fell. Before darkness came. Before darkness reached. Darkness is not a point so that we can reach it. It doesn't come, it fails. So before darkness fell. Dash of the sore feet. She did not dash. 7. In spite of the sore feet, but it is misspelled because in spite is 2 words. So it is not correct. In spite of the sore feet, she did not dash. Despite of the sore feet, despite is not correct because of its meaning. It is the opposite of in spite. In spite of the sore feet, she did not dash. A part of the, a part is not used with of, it is used with from. So the correct choice there is in spite, which is 2 words, in and spite. So question choice 7, we say in spite of the sore feet, she did not dash. She did not give up. She did not give in. She did not give out. She did not quit. So that is even quite. It's a wrong spelling for you to distract you. So they are testing the correct phrasal verb, which is give up. She did not give up. She did not give up. After the dash, she finally dashed home. After the tiring long walk, that one is testing order of adjectives. It is testing order of adjectives, and you must know that between factual and opinion adjectives, facts come first. After the dash, tiring long walk, long tiring walk, walk tiring, you don't start with the noun. Tiring walk long, no. The noun comes last. So walk is a noun there. Walk is used there as a noun. And nouns are usually stated at the end in the order of adjectives. So we start with long, then tiring walk. Long, tiring walk. It cannot fit there. She finally dashed home. She finally reached at home. She finally arrived at home. We don't say reached at. That is repetition. If you use reached, you say just reached. She finally reached home, arrived home, get at home, arrived home. The correct answer therefore is choice B, which is she finally arrived. She finally arrived home. She was very dash. She was very distracted, dissatisfied, disappointed, disheartened. Testing vocabulary. Distracted does not bring out the meaning. It is disappointed. She was very disappointed. Disappointed with a single S and a double P. It is actually the prefix dis and the word appointed. The prefix dis and the word appointed. Disappointed when she found out that there was no food. Suddenly, she broke tears. She broke at tears. She broke to tears. She broke into tears. She broke in tears. We say broke into. She broke into tears. So she broke into tears. She tried to dash the fire. She tried to light, but light is not written as they have spelled it in A. She tried to light B. She tried to lit. It cannot be in past. She tried to put the fire. Not really. So the correct thing word there is she tried to light. She tried to light the fire. But in past tense we could say she lit the fire. She tried to light the fire. Dash, the firewood was wet. But the firewood was wet. However, the firewood was wet. Therefore, the firewood was wet, though the firewood was wet. So contrary to what she was trying to do, we use but. I taught that but in my lessons, if you've been following. But the firewood was wet. Dash, she went to bed on an empty stomach. Excitedly. It cannot be excitedly because of logic. Suddenly, it was not sudden. Sadly, yes. Fearfully, it was not fear. So the correct emotion there is sadness. So sadly, she went to bed on an empty stomach. So there, sadly. So after doing that, you go back to your text, you read through it. After you've read through it, you then check whether there are some corrections you need to do. You check whether there are some corrections that you need to do and do them. So you do the corrections, then you can say that your Cloze test is well answered. Confirm that the answers are correct. Transfer them to your answer sheet correctly. Then go over your work. Go over the entire paper and cross-check all the questions from number 1 to number 15. Example 3, first, overpopulation is a dash problem in dash countries, dash the world. Overpopulation does not simply mean a dash increase in the number of people, dash. It means the increase in the number of people in a certain dash to the point where land for farming, keeping animals, dash constructing homes is not there. Then it continues saying, overpopulation leads to a number of social dash, economic and dash problems. One of the problems is how to waste, because the infrastructure is not dash to handle the waste generated when too many people dash in an area. Cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and other dash diseases can then dash. So it's about overpopulation, a Cloze test that you're supposed to fill. Let's try and answer that one, then I wind up my lesson. Overpopulation is a dash problem. Overpopulation is a major problem, a small problem, a minor problem, a weird problem. So from our reading, we get that overpopulation is a major problem. So you go to 1 and pick major. Then, after you have picked major, you come and write it there. A major problem in dash countries. In large countries, in all countries, in few countries, in many countries. The correct choice is many countries. Countries are countable. We cannot use much, and we cannot say all countries because of logic. It is not a problem to all the countries. So logic there. 3, countries dash the world. Dash the world. We say on the world, in the world, at the world, into world. In the world. In the world. So all the countries in the world. Overpopulation does not simply mean a dash. A slow increase in the number of people, a rapid increase in the number of people, a direct increase in the number of people, a serious increase. It is rapid. Does not mean a rapid increase in the number of people. Dash, it means the increase in the number of people in a certain increase in the number of people, dash, or mean a rapid increase in the number of people, dash, in the number of people. However, although, moreover, instead, it is instead because you're stating now the correct definition. Instead, it means the increase in the number of people in a certain country, in a certain town, in a certain region, in a certain village. The correct is region because it is not talking about countries. Even towns can be overpopulated and villages too. So you use region, which is a word that cuts across. To the point where dash land for farming. To the point where dash land for farming. To the point where plenty land for farming, abundant, enough, little. Enough land for farming, keeping animals, dash constructing home is not there. The correct choice is enough. Enough. You don't need abundant, you only need enough. Enough land for farming, keeping animals, dash constructing homes is not there. So after you have listed the last one, before the last one you put a but, although, moreover, or. It is or. Or, yes. Okay. Overpopulation leads to a number of social dash, economic and dash, a number of social, comma, economic and dash problems. 10 is home, country, environmental. The answer, the pick there is environmental. Environmental problems. One of the problems is how to dash waste. How to keep, manage, put away, hinder. It is how to manage waste because the infrastructure is not dash to handle the waste generated when too many people dash in an area. Is not set in, set up, set on, set upon. Set up, the correct phrasal verb there again, to handle the waste generated when too many people dash in an area. Too many people live, immigrate, avoid, live, or to stay in an area. Cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and other dash diseases. Vocabulary: cholera, typhoid, and dysentery are common communicable diseases. So the correct choice there will be and other communicable diseases can then break out, break in, break off, break down, and the correct choice is break out. So that marks the end of my lesson today or this morning. I'll answer a few questions that you have sent me. Somebody saying, I'm Eugene Wekesa from Bungoma. What is the meaning of the word puberty? Puberty is when adolescence sets in. My name is Joy, and I would like my producer, I need some assistance so that I go to the screen. My name is Joy, and I would like to ask if you can repeat about the do's and the don'ts. I may not have enough time to do that, but maybe I'll share my notes with you later. Please, teacher, can you bring that do's and don'ts so that we can note them down? My name is Oliver. I may not get to the do's and the don'ts because of time. Ashford Gikunda, great lesson. Which thematic areas do broken passages come from? Thematic areas, I've said that mostly it tests punctuation, the parts of speech, and the general grammar knowledge, and also comprehension. But vocabulary is also tested, so it is wide. It does not come from just a single thematic area. Then somebody is asking, I'm Sonia from Nakuru. What is the meaning of plodded? Plodded is to walk. To plod is to walk. When you are tired, to walk slowly when tired. So I am going through the do's and the don'ts. I want to go through the do's and the don'ts. I said the first one is read the passage for the first time without looking at the answers. Then read the passage for the second time. Read the passage for the second time to understand. Observe punctuation marks as you read. Note the tense used in the passage. Is it past, present, future, or participle? Then find out the tense used in the passage. Find out the tense that is used in that passage. Note the words that come before and after the blank spaces. The words that come before and after the blank spaces, they usually give you a hint to answering your question. Then the next thing you need to do is read the sentence. Read the sentence to yourself after you fill in the blank spaces. Read the sentence to yourself after you have filled in the blank spaces. Note the words that come before and after the blank spaces. Work out all the blank spaces in a given sentence at the same time. Read the sentence to yourself. Try to fit in the 4 choices. Have a reason for the correct answer and reasons for the 3 wrong answers. Mark your correct answers on the questions. Fill in the blank spaces with the answers you have picked from each question. Read the story with the correct answers to yourself. Ensure the passage makes sense and correct where necessary. After confirming that the answers are correct, transfer them to your answer sheet correctly. Go over the entire paper and cross-check all questions from number 1 to number 15. And that brings me to the end of my lesson this morning. I thank you for joining me, and I urge you to continue following our lessons every weekday from 8:15 to 10:15 in the program Elimu Live here in KUTV. I've been your teacher, Caleb Nyakundi. Goodbye for now and see you another time.